Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So today it's an interesting topic because today we're going to talk about Titan Company Limited interview procedure. Many people have been asking throughout, make a video on Titan ka procedure, make a video on Titan ka procedure because I have multiple videos on multiple companies interview process. So today I am going to talk about Titan Company Limited interview procedure or the entire process of recruitment for Titan Company Limited. So when I talk about Titan Company Limited, it has more than 3,000 employees now, almost 5,000 employees on payroll, and they have huge opportunities on campus and off campus. If you want to search for the openings in Titan, you should go to Titan careers page and you should see what kind of openings are there. They keep on updating those openings on their careers page, so you should definitely go and visit, and you would get an idea of what kind of roles are open in the company. Today we are going to talk about the on-campus procedure. So Titan as a company follows multiple screening rounds, and today we're going to talk about all of those screening rounds and how I managed to clear those screening rounds and then ended up in doing an internship, in bagging an internship with Titan, which finally was converted into a pre-placement interview, that is a PPI, and finally a PPO with Titan Company Limited. So when Titan came, the first thing that they do, they have a criteria. I am talking about MBA in particular. GTs or engineers will also have similar kind of procedure. As far as the discussion was concerned with some of the GTs that have joined along with us, I confirmed that they are also having a similar kind of a procedure lined up for them. So talking about the exact process, what did happen? So basically they had a criteria that maximum of 26 months of work experience. So for our batch, it was maximum 26 months of work experience, and all the CVs were sent to the HR which had 26 months ke lesser than ka experience. And then a CV shortlisting was done, and some good bunch of people were selected from the CV shortlisting round, post which they had a aptitude round and a psychometric test. So again, I would have a separate video on how to crack a psychometric test, but just to give you a brief, psychometric test is basically a personality assessment test. So what kind of personality are you? So there are personality types like ENTP. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? So different kind of personality traits, and through different questions, not one or two, about 50 questions, they try to judge your personality. So they ask the same question in different ways and they see how are you answering. Whether you are faking it, that will also be very clear from the kind of answers that you're giving. So if you cannot match a kind of pattern or a kind of personality, even if you are faking it, they will be able to understand with your answers. So suppose I'm giving an example. One question they ask that, are you empathetic to people? You say yes. Then they turn around the question and then they say that, if required, if somebody is not keeping well and you still need to get the work done in urgency, would you go to that person and ask him or her to get the work done? And you say yes here as well. So you are contradicting your own statement. It's a self-contradiction, and you do not clear the psychometric test. I will give a detail about the algorithm of how psychometric test softwares do actually analyze your personality, but today's video is not about that. So there is a psychometric test and there is an aptitude test. Now the level of aptitude is mota, that is normal, not as good as CAT, but a decent level. It has quants, it has DILR, it has parajumbles and a bit of that, VRC part as well, not specifically RCRC, but kind of VA. So in that sense, aptitude and psychometric, post which you clear the aptitude and psychometric, you go to a group discussion round where we were divided into two sets. So each set, I think around 10 to 12 people were there, total 24 people, if I'm not wrong, 20 or 24 people were there. So one group discussion will be with 10 people, and then another group discussion will be with another 10 people. And so basically there are high chances that it will be a fish market, but the GD time is very high. Like they have a GD for us, they had about 1.5 hours ka GD. So basically everybody would get a chance to speak, but you will have to, it's not like you will be individually asked to speak for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You will have to search for your opportunity. In our case, what they did was, since it was turning out to be a chaos and a fish market, they intervened and they told that now you assume roles. So they had, now talking about the GD, it is a case-based GD, not a normal any type of topic based GD. So you will not be given an abrupt topic and asked to speak on it. It is a case. So basically a one-pager case will be given that these are a scenario, and what would you do if you were in the manager's place. So we were having a discussion, and we were having a fish market kind of a scenario, post which we were told that you assume roles. Someone is from the finance department, so you'll have to get it approved from finance department. Then someone is in operations and supply chain, so you'll have to plan accordingly. It was basically a supply chain project, and opening of a new warehouse and closing of an old warehouse. So you'll have to give logics and counter logics, and then there will be this BizOps team, say 2-3 people will be representing the BizOps team, business operations, how that's going to impact, and there will be some people from the sales and marketing team as well. So how will setting up a new warehouse basically reduce the time to market, and basically how will that create a customer affection and customer satisfaction. So all of those things you will have to speak out. You will have to you may have to divide yourselves in departments. It was specifically done because we were not reaching any conclusion. Even after doing that, dividing us into subgroups and basically categories, so making us finance, one representing operations, still we didn't reach the conclusion. But at a point of time we were getting a bit organized there. But if I now talk about what's the next phase, so after the GD they will call one by one, not in sequence of names, in sequence of performances in GD or something like that. I still don't know what is the criteria. But for us, what happened, they kept on calling some random people one by one. And after my interview, they stopped. So they basically interviewed 5 people. I don't know if they had come with a list of 5 from the GD, whether GD was an eliminating round, that we do not know, or it was like everybody will get a chance until we find the right candidate and we stop the process. Either of these two might have been the criteria, but no interviews happened after my interview. So basically 10 or 12 people was in the GD room with me in my panel. Only 5 gave the interview, and I was the only one selected from my panel, and simultaneously another panel 2 people were selected. So the kind of questions that they ask in the interview, now let's come to the interview. So I would give a tip and suggestion: read about the company thoroughly. Okay, previous night when I was preparing for Titan, I went to their website and I read about each and every brand of theirs, and I made sure that in my introduction or during my conversation, I try to sneak in that I have read and I am aligned with the values of the company, because Titan is a company which, they give a lot of priority to the candidates whose values are aligned with the values of the company. So as a company, the CSR initiatives that they take, you can, quote those while explaining some things. Also, the kind of brands that are there, which brand do you identify the most with? This kind of questions might also come. So for me, it was an operations interview. Some of the people applied in sales and marketing. For them, it was that kind of an interview. So what happened in my interview was I was asked an introduction, post which I was mostly asked HR-based questions, not any questions from my academic or even my work experience background, not any technical questions, but yes, a lot of HR questions. I was asked that, I specifically remember this question, I was asked that you were a very junior candidate in your previous organizations, and there would be people who would be working in that plant for 10-20 years. How would you convince them? How do you convince them about a project that you want to put up? So my answer was to make them understand that it would be in their benefit is something that I would do, and rather not ask them directly that you have to do it from the next day. This is the project and you have to follow it. Until they realize that it is in their benefit, it will make their work easier and it will not replace them. The fear of replacement is gone. Then they're going to follow the consecutive steps as told or as asked. So you'll have to remove the fear of getting replaced and inculcate the thought that this is some good initiative that will save your time and help you increase your productivity. When you start realizing that, you start to function. So that kind of an answer I gave to the question that how do you actually make the people, experienced folks, work in your favor or work in your project's favor. That was a specific question. Then I was asked that at a point of time in your group discussion panel, you were the one who was taking charge, you were making people. So I basically asked that whoever you didn't get a chance, you speak now. So I was coordinating, but what went wrong? Why again it turned out to be a fish market? So I explained that as well, that it is the fear of losing out or fear of missing out. So basically people think that the time will be passed and I will not be able to speak. So everybody wants to speak after a certain point of time. So all of that stuff. And then they didn't really ask. So they asked that how do you maintain the motivation? How do you keep walking, or what is your source of energy? Those kind of things that mostly went down the line. no technical questions as such from the CV, or no work experience technical questions, or no questions from my educational background as well. Mostly HR based questions from my previous work experience and situation based questions, and how and what happened in the GD, those kind of questions. My interview was basically for 20 minutes. I think they were convinced, and after the interview I felt that I would be able to bag in the internship, and it eventually happened. It was a good 2 month stint, post which I got a PPI and then a PPO after 2 consecutive interviews. I will discuss in a separate video about the PPI process. How do you ensure that you get the PPI, and how do you convert the PPI to a PPO, and what will be the steps of doing that. I will make a separate video on that, and I will post that on this channel only. But today's video was mostly about what all do they ask in the interview, what is the GD process, what is the psychometric and aptitude process that Titan Company Limited generally has in their hiring process. So that was it from my end. I will bring more videos on life experiences, on interview experiences, on topics related to interviews and life. So if you like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit the bells icon for regular updates, and wait for more videos like this. That's it from my side. Thank you very much.